Welcome to the Becoming Eva podcast, where we discuss real-life issues from a woman's perspective.
Becoming Eva seeks to break the silence within the female community while fostering authenticity, transparency, and healing.
We're your hosts, Latoya Moore
and Maya Dawson.
Let's get started.
So don't forget about us, Sherry. Don't forget about us. We are live, y'all. Yes, y'all heard us saying, don't forget about us when you blow up, okay? That's what we was talking about behind the scenes. But yes, we are here, y'all, for another episode of Becoming Eva. So BE community, I hope y'all are doing great because we're about to continue this Rich Life series. And you know, we cannot finish out this series without talking about the money. Yes. You know, we've been talking about rich in relationships. We've been talking about rich in body, you know, and today we're talking about rich in wealth with the amazing Sherry Dennard. So we're excited to have you this morning.
Yes, I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. Well, okay, before we dive into learning more about you, we're going to talk what's trending real quick because this topic came up and I was like, we cannot have Sherry on here without talking about this topic, okay? So some of y'all may or may not have heard that Tyler Perry recently, he went viral because he was talking about how women should marry for love versus money, especially in this day and age. We've got a lot more women that are making more money than men, that are considered more successful than their male counterparts. And so he was like, you know, if a man can, you know, take care of you mentally and emotionally and support you the way that you need to be supported, it shouldn't matter how much money he's bringing to the table. So needless to say, it sparked some conversation, sparked some dialogue. So, yeah, what do y'all think?
You want to start with me?
I mean, hey.
I'll get in the hot seat first. So, you know, my initial thought on that, there is no right or wrong answer. I think it really depends on the individual and what you're looking for. And what is your definition of peace?
Got it.
You know, what does it look like? I mean, and what are you going to relinquish if you are trading in peace for money? If you can have both, that's great. But, you know, I think you should, you know, strive for peace and what is it? Tranquility.
Yeah, that's real. Serenity,
right,
all of that.
All of that.
Yes.
I mean, peace to me is paramount. And so you just have to decide what do you value most.
That's good. That's good.
I agree with that. And I feel like with money, it comes and it goes. Even if you are a billionaire, anything can happen. Yeah. Like when Kanye was in the news, and then like people just start dropping you to make, or even Will Smith, when all that the slap happened, people were pulling him from being an actor for different movies. So I feel like money can come and go, and that should not be your goal and your mate.
No, that shouldn't. It definitely should not be the end all be all to why you choose a mate. Money does not equate to happiness, and you have to understand that if you don't have that connection with that partner, spiritually, emotionally, the money is just going to be another thing that you have to overcome. If the money goes away, then what? Does the love also go away? So if you're loving him just because of the money, and you're signing up just because of the money, what is the longevity of that relationship? I mean, really, what do you really have?
Right.
Now I gotta play angel's advocate for a minute because I agree with y'all. You know, marry, and honestly, I would go a step further to say, you know, not only marry for love, but marry for purpose. Make sure that y'all are, you know, working towards a common goal together. You know, aside from just marrying for money, but. You know, you've got some women out here saying, okay, well, I'm trying to marry for love, but how do I avoid these scrubs? Because there's really scrubs out here that they know how to put it on you. They know how to say and do all the right things, but they laying on that couch talking about, baby, what we gonna eat? What you gonna do? And you find yourself, you know, bringing home the bacon, cooking it, and they just, you know, laying on the couch, doing whatever,
Well,
you
first
know.
of all, why are they on your couch?
Well,
Right.
all right.
Let's talk about that.
Why are you attracting those type of men in your life? You got to do some reflection. Like, what are you putting out there that is attracting that type of man in your life?
Y'all then came out the gate preaching, y'all. They didn't came out the gate preaching. I don't need to add nothing to that. Just think on what they just said, you know, and find that middle. Make sure that you are, you know, that whoever you're with, regardless of how much they make, they're motivated just like you're motivated. You know, they're ambitious just like you're ambitious. They're educated just like you're educated, you know, regardless of how much money they may or may not make. So I just wanted to put that out there. But y'all have anything else for what's trending before we move on?
No, I think I'm good on that.
Wow, I know I came in hot, y'all. I came in hot. I forgot to ask how y'all doing. Y'all, how you ladies doing?
I'm good. I'm happy to be here.
So last year, if you guys remember, I don't remember which season or episode it was, but I talked about the innovation grant that I wrote for our school, and I did. We were a recipient of the grant, and so this year I've been tasked with spending the money for the initiatives that I put in the grant.
Yes.
So it's been a lot of pressure. I've been having to like step out and lead even more.
Gotcha.
Even though I'm in the position of a type of leadership position, but I'm also like leading these different initiatives. So it's very new territory for me. But one of the first events that we're doing is called Art in the Park.
Yes.
And we are doing it at 4 different locations. So I was able to send out a survey and like gather teachers, teacher support to do the different events. So I'll be at the West Side Atlanta Park, and then I'll have a group of teachers in Covington area, one in Savannah, and then one in Roswell.
That's huge.
I'll be doing kind of like, you know how you do sip and paint? So I'll be leading like a paint session, and then I've got some other teachers doing like some artsy stations and stuff like that. So I love it.
That's huge. 4 different locations. What in the world? Wow. Yes. Oh, congratulations. Yes. Wow.
I just feel like maybe I put too much.
What do you mean?
Like, you know how you have these goals, and like people know about it, and so they're like expecting you to follow through. Yeah. And so I feel like it's a lot of eyes on me.
Oh yeah, but God's got it. I mean, He would not have allowed you to be awarded the grant if He was not going to go before you and prepare the way and put everything in place. So,
and shout out to Sam Flex.
Yes.
They, you know, I wrote a donation letter and sent it out to several businesses to see if they would donate paint and canvases. And so the person that was helping me send out the letters asked, like, well, Sam wants to donate some stuff. Like, how many canvases do you need? And so I hesitated to put the number, but I was like, well, they may. And so I said 80 canvases and paint. And they were like, sure.
Wow.
And they gave us all 80 canvases, tons of paint.
All right.
We were able to divide it between the 4 different locations for the event tomorrow. So
that's amazing.
I'm excited to see everything come together.
Yes. Shine, Toya, shine. No, I love it. Shine for real. This is amazing. Please let us know how it goes. Yes. That's awesome. Yes. And Miss Sherry, how are you doing? How's your week been?
Doing fantastic. It's been a busy week, which is a good thing, right?
Yes, it is. It is. Exactly. That's how I feel. When I can be productive and check things off my list, then I'm feeling good. So yes, same here. Yes. Very productive, but very fun. And I'm just going, putting one foot in front of the other, trusting the Lord, and we'll see what happens next. So y'all stay tuned. So as I mentioned earlier, we are in the middle of our Rich Life series, and our amazing guest was the recipient of the Rich in Wealth Award at the Rich Girls HQ brunch, Brunch and Black, that we attended a while ago, several weeks ago now. But all that to say, we want to hear from you as far as there was a lot of conversation about what's your rich life. So I would love for you to kick us off by talking about what is your rich life, or a vision for one of your rich lives, because there's so many different aspects to it. Yeah,
absolutely. So first of all, thank you for having me here today, ladies. I appreciate the opportunity to speak on your platform. I was excited to be here today. And let's go back to the rich. I don't want people to equate that immediately to money, right? I mean, that's only part of it. But rich, as dubbed by the Rich Girls HQ, which is where I met you ladies at this event. Great event, great brunch. I mean, it was amazing.
Incredible.
It blew my mind. I mean, like it was great. But they dub it ready to invest in change in habits. Yes. And so that resonated with me. And when I think about it from that perspective, what does it really mean for me as far as rich thinking? And not so much from a monetary standpoint. And so for me, it's just really focusing on building that relationship or deepening that relationship with God, and really honing in on the things that I think are a gap. Studying the word more and just really practicing what he says you should be doing. Yeah. And that's building relationship also with other people and enlarging your territory that way. So I think once you focus on the right priority, which is his will and not your will, everything else will follow. So that's what I would say as a definition for a rich life.
I love it.
Look at how you can enrich others, not so much how you can enrich yourself. And that starts with that relationship.
That's good, y'all. Focus on how you can enrich others, and then focus on how you can enrich yourself. That's awesome.
Yep.
Good stuff. Wow. Well, Toya, you want to give a formal introduction to our special guest?
So Sherry Dennard is a State Farm insurance agent. Sherry was born in Oakland, California to a naval family and relocated to Phoenix City, Alabama after the loss of her father at the very young age. Being the youngest of 4 siblings, she's always had a giving spirit and willingness to help others. As of June 1st, she is dual licensed to provide insurance for adjacent states in Alabama and South Carolina. And she's also alumni of Alabama State University.
Albany State
University. Sherry received a Bachelor of Science degree in Business Management with a concentration in labor relations. She later earned her Master's of Science degree in Business Management with a concentration in leadership from Troy University. She is committed to and passionate about educating others on the value of having protection and financial stability for themselves and their families. On the family frontier, Sherry has a loving husband with a blended family to include 5 uniquely beautiful children. Yes. She enjoys cooking, interior decorating, and spending quality time with her family. She firmly believes that all things are possible if you put forth the time and effort.
Amen.
Wow, that's impressive.
I know, when you hear it, when you sit back and listen, you're like, very.
All right.
I love it. Well, we're going to get started and talk about your origin story, because we want to dive deep into just, how you evolved to where you are today.
Well, so multiple steps brought me to where I am today. And you said some of it in the bio, you kind of scratched the surface. I was born on the West Coast along with my siblings. My dad was in the Navy. And, he died actually when my mother was pregnant with me.
Oh, wow.
And based on the math, I have to believe, I'm not even sure if she knew she was pregnant with me at the time, because it was that early on. So it was like maybe December, I think January timeframe, and I was born in August.
Gotcha.
So I didn't really have the benefit of knowing what it was to have a father figure in the home, because she never remarried. So I can only imagine, for her, how difficult it was. As a single parent with 3 small children, and then one on the way with you're widowed. Yeah. And so she ultimately moved back to Alabama, and that's where her village was. And I'm glad. I mean, God orders your footsteps, right? So no regrets there. I'm really glad of that. And we had the opportunity to be raised in a more smaller, quaint environment. But that did not come without its challenges. You know, having a mother that had gone through such a trauma. And I'm not going to take a deep dive on what the happenings were, but just know there was a lot of trauma involved with that loss.
Yeah.
And, you know, back in the 60s, when this happened, there just wasn't a lot of help for her. And, you know, she rightly deserved that. She's one of the most strongest, stoic, beautiful women that I know, but she's very reserved. And I think there are a lot of walls that came up around that loss, and it caused her to go into this space, I'll say. And so she was present, but not always present for us kids. And so that brought some challenges in the way we were reared. And so I think there's a reason for everything, right?
Absolutely.
And I share more and more about that, I think, as I'm on these type of platforms, just so other people can see what's possible. It's not where you start, it's where you end and where you're going. So you don't want to be a prisoner of what happened. You want to be a warrior and someone that's victorious, so that others you can create that blueprint for others to follow.
Absolutely.
Life brings about choices, you know, and you can choose to stay stagnant, or you can choose to rise above your situation. And, you know, for me, I'm not saying that I'm perfect. Definitely, I've come along some bumps and bruises in the road and had to learn a lot the hard way. But I thank God for a Father in heaven.
Yes.
That, you know, loved me enough to make sure that I didn't stay on the wayside, so to speak. Hopefully that answers your question.
Amen.
So I was raised in Alabama. Let's go back to
that.
I started my collegiate career at Tuskegee University.
All right.
Yeah. Well, now, hold on.
I know she's like, I didn't end it there, y'all. I didn't end it there. But go
hold up. I mean, Tuskegee is a wonderful HBCU, by the way. And I just wasn't focused. And so that goes back to that foundation, you know, coming from a home, not having that discipline and focus that I needed to garner from. And you think you know everything as a teenager, right? And you really don't. You really don't. And so, you know, they were partying on a Thursday like it was Saturday.
Yeah. That's when the weekend started in college. Actually, Wednesday it started on Wednesday, but you know. Yeah.
So nonetheless, I had to pull back. And I ended up getting pregnant in my third year, and we got married. This was my college sweetheart.
Okay.
And, you know, we were young. We moved to Albany, Georgia. And at that point, I enrolled at Albany State. So not in the right order, but it happened the way it was supposed to happen, I guess.
Absolutely.
But, you know, the immaturity got in the way of the relationship. And, you know, in my 20s, I was a lot different person. And I thank God for maturity. You know, but at the end of the day, it didn't work out. And we had 2 beautiful children as a result of it, that marriage. So no regrets.
Yeah. Let me ask real quick.
Yeah.
I know I can only imagine, I should say, that it takes a lot to once you know, experience I won't even say challenge, but basically your life was turned upside down. 3rd year in college. Yeah. You're expecting a baby.
Yeah.
What motivated you to keep going as it relates to school? Because in a lot of cases, people are like, okay, that's it. I don't have time. Yeah.
I got to tell you, when I looked at that little girl, and she was a preemie, by the way, she was only 3 pounds, 7 ounces.
Wow.
And I had a mini stroke and trying to have her. And so I didn't see her for a week.
Okay.
But when I tell you, when I saw her in that incubator, and I thought to myself, I'm responsible for her. So this is no longer about me.
Yeah.
You know? So that's what needed to happen for me to change course and see things differently. Now, it took me a longer period of time to obtain the degree. So there were some, I won't say, I'm going to say drama. And drama is a choice, ladies.
Can
I say
that's a whole nother topic, y'all. Say that one more time.
Drama is a choice.
All right.
In my 20s, I didn't value myself enough to know that. Okay. So I partook in the drama, right? I even threw balls and, you know, I was throwing mud too. So, but then I had to pull back.
Yeah.
And it took a long time for me to get that, because you allow your emotions to lead you in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
Let me say that one more time. If you allow your emotions to lead you on a leash, they will lead you astray.
I hope y'all picking up what she putting down, y'all.
So
she dropping some gems.
And again, let's go back to childhood because there's a lot there that I didn't get from the home that I had to figure out on my own. So I'm okay with sharing my boo-boos in hopes that other women or girls, little girls, I don't know who's hearing this today, maybe someone that needed to hear this will say, why am I answering the phone for nonsense? Or why am I deciding to settle for less than God intends me to? It's a choice.
Wow.
And so when I decided ultimately, it took me in my 30s actually, to say, this is enough. I've wasted enough time. I'm wasting your time. I'm wasting my time. You won't change. I want better. Why am I expecting you to be something other than what you've shown?
Wow.
Come on now.
Yeah.
Come on now.
Yeah.
So like I said, I wish him well in life. It's a choice to break bread. I choose not to. So you just have to decide to move on.
Okay.
You have to move on.
Well, that takes a lot of guts and grits and courage to have a child or children and then still go back and pursue those degrees.
Yes.
Like right now, I'm in school.
Yeah.
With 4 kids.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
I don't know how you're doing.
why am I doing this?
It's real.
I ask myself that twice or at least more a week. Like, why am I doing this to myself? But it's hard to have kids and going to school. So woo.
And by the way, my second child is special needs and nonverbal and come with behaviors, and it's been quite a ride. But I tell you, having her, I've seen so many things through her eyes that I wouldn't have seen otherwise. Because children, like my angel, I like to call her an angel, because she really is an angel, even though it's been difficult. To see the world through her eyes, I see how innocent and how she doesn't care about the things like we talked about money earlier. She cares nothing about that kind of stuff. And I believe that's how God wants us to approach it. Or approach him as children, and stop worrying about these things that don't matter. They don't build that those gifts eternally. You're building treasures here on earth, but not eternally. And so for her, she's been a blessing to me. And I mean, gosh, children are a blessing. My oldest child is a blessing. I just, like I said, for me, my whole life changed at that moment when I saw her. And so she was my why, my purpose. And I didn't want her or my children to look outside the home for a role model. I wanted them to see what was possible by my own will, not by others in the street.
Yeah.
Wow.
I needed to be that example.
So here you are in divorced with 2 children at this point. Had you finished school already?
No.
Oh, wow. So you were still in school.
I was in
now a single parent.
So, all right. So there's some in between stuff. Okay. I feel like I'm giving y'all the book.
Hey. Y'all got to hear first. Y'all, if you logged in early, that's what we was talking about, saying, Sherry, don't forget the little people. This is it right there. This is it right here.
Hey,
okay, go ahead.
This is a full body of work. So, everybody's got their journey, like I said, and I partook in the drama. And and the funny thing is, I won't say it's funny. The blessing there is that God will allow you grace to bump your head multiple times if you want to. So don't get it twisted. Just because you bumping your head and nothing happened, I'm just bleeding a little bit. If you decide to keep bumping your head, so be it. He'll let you do that. But if you decide that you want differently, when the door has been open the whole time, you can walk. You can go around the door. You can go around. So I bumped my head a lot. And like I said, it just, I don't know, something is like a V8. It's not getting V8. It was like, I don't have to be doing this. So that being said, yes, it was very difficult. I was divorced. I had the 2 children. I made a decision to work in a production area in pharmaceutical. It was safe. It was safe. It provided me benefits. It was an honest living, and it allowed me to, put a roof over my girl's head. And I was still married at the time when I made the decision because I saw the road ahead. He just was, anyway, I won't go there, but
we got you.
I needed that security, knowing that I can take care of me and my girls no matter what happens here. And so I did that. And so you become complacent. I called them the golden handcuffs. So I did that for 5 years, and it probably shouldn't have been 5 years because I became complacent because the money was coming. Although I was sacrificing my nights to do it. I was sacrificing my weekends to do it. And it took a shakeup in my life for him, you know, for me to stop doing that and go back to school with more fervor, more purpose, intentional. And, you know, that's the book.
Yes.
But when that shakeup happened, it made me see, because I had quit my job. Okay. And when I quit my job and then I decided I'd go do something different, I realized that when I was filling out those applications, I had to check high school. I don't care how many years of college you got. When you're filling out the application, you have to check high school. And so your possibilities are, it shrank. It shrank. And when you know, it's a sober reality. And so when I realized that, I was like, oh, we got to change this.
Yeah, till you get that degree. It's just
I got to change this narrative. This is not the life that I was intended to live. And so I went back. They rehired me, but at a janitorial position.
Wow.
In my 20s.
Wow.
And I said, you know what? This is humbling, but this is the lesson I got to learn here. And I learned a lot. I learned a lot. I learned about myself, you know, what it is to start over. And there was a lot of reflection time there, but it allowed me time to go back to school because I wasn't working the weekends now. I wasn't working at night now. So I took full advantage of that time to reset, restart.
Wow. So many nuggets of, wow, I did not know you had all of this in you.
Yes.
When I met you.
A lot of people don't know. A lot of people
Thank
don't
you
know.
for letting us in. Now, before we get, because we are going to talk about money, y'all. We are going to talk about it. I want to talk about how you eventually met your current husband and what it's like to now have a blended family.
Wow, I'll call it fate. There aren't accidents. And so I relocated to Georgia coming from Virginia. You may not have known that either, right? I was working at the pharmaceutical industry, in the pharmaceutical industry, and it led me to Virginia, and I was there for 6 years. And, you know, my daughter had graduated from high school and was in college, and I was like, there's really nothing else here for me to do. Check the box. There's some other things, again, wait on the book. And I decided I wanted to be closer to home, you know. So I started seeking positions in Atlanta area, and I kept getting a no, you know, and I almost given up. And I almost decided, you know, this is where I guess I'm going to be. It's cold in the winter. This ain't no place for an Alabama girl to be, but okay, this is where you want me, Lord. And just when I was about to give up, I got a call, and I was in the parking lot at a grocery store saying, hey, you still open? They had interviewed me like 6 months prior. And I was like, well, yeah.
Wow.
Don't give up, people. Don't give up on your dreams, your
6
hopes, your
months.
prayers. Almost 6 hours. It could be more. It could be more. It was a while because the job had frozen. And so don't quote me on the 6 months.
Gotcha.
But it felt like a year, okay?
Yeah.
And so everything started just happening real fast after that. Now, mind you, this was familiar for me because I'd been with this company for over 20 years that I was getting ready to say goodbye. And so if nothing else, you guys take away from this, lean into discomfort. Lean into discomfort. And, you know, sometimes the familiar will hold you back. You got to be open to trying something new. And even if it doesn't work, you learn something from it. But you will never know if you don't try. So don't be afraid to try something new. So I moved from Virginia, drove all the way down here. I remember it was September the 23rd or something like that.
Wow.
2013. Wow. I'll never forget it because it was like a change. It was a change of chapter. It's like you flip the chapter. You're in. This is a new story.
Turn the page.
Turn the page. It's a new story. Anyway, with that being said, how did I meet my husband? There's a reason why I said that. Change is difficult for our special population. And so when I enrolled my daughter in high school in the special ed program, I was constantly having to go over there because they were calling me all the time. Now, mind you, I just started a new job.
Yeah.
They don't know me like that, you know. But, you know, but God.
Mm-hmm.
So I kept driving over there to kind of see if I can help them mitigate the situation with her. The behaviors were on 10 and, maybe 10 plus even. But anyway, I'm there focused on one thing. I'm coming in and out, coming in and out. And then one day this teacher or parapro was like, kind of like, hey, see me. And he was like, really, really saying more than what, I was like, why are you in my face? I'm here,
What do you
honestly,
want?
What do you want? I mean, I'm here. What do you want? I'm in my feelings because I'm like, I'm already here. What else do you need? If there's anything, call me here, blah, blah, blah. So here's my work email. Anything that's, if there's an issue with her, whatever you need, send me an email. And so he was sending an email before I got back to the office, I think, So it kind of went from there, and we became fast friends. And he could relate because he was kind of hired to help with her.
Got it. Okay.
And so it just kind of blossomed from there, friendship, it just went from there. So you just never know when you're gonna meet your Boaz, right?
That's such a beautiful story,
isn't it?
So he was like an assistant teacher or a teacher?
He was trying to get into the teaching field, so he was in as a parapro.
And so he was assisting and helping your daughter even before you guys made it official.
Yeah. He knew her before he knew
amazing.
me.
That is so beautiful.
It is.
And just giving up on love. I mean, to be honest, I had at that point in my life, I decided, clearly I can't pick right.
My pick is off.
My pick is off. I don't know how to pick it. I didn't see right in the beginning, so maybe I just need to stop this. And you just never know. Just as soon as you close the door, God says, "Nope, I got something else for you."
Yeah. And so here you are with 2 children, 2 daughters, and he has 3 children. Wow. So what is it like having a blended family?
Well, his children live with their mother, and they were, I want to say, tweens by then, and tweens are very difficult to
by nature.
Just by nature. So even if they're yours, they're difficult. So if they're not yours, imagine you can't do right. So you just kind of get in where you fit in, and I support my husband and whatever he wanted me to do in that situation, and you just have to let it evolve. You can't force it.
Yeah.
And if someone gives you their behind the kiss, so to speak, I don't do that. I'm sorry. I don't do that. I don't do that. When you're ready to have the relationship, I'm here for you. I don't harden my heart. I realize it's difficult. And so you have to give the children time to adapt.
Absolutely.
Maybe they will, maybe they won't, but you have to give them that space to do that.
Wow. And sometimes it takes a long time. I mean, I can speak from experience. I grew up in a very blended family, and then my biological dad, he lives here, and he got remarried. He wasn't really in our life at all growing up, and so he got remarried, had like a family of his own. And so when I finally met the new wife and the new family, man, I could say maybe 10 years ago, we finally started having like a good relationship, like me and my stepmother. So it took a long time for me personally.
Yeah. Well, it's on both ends for us, right? Because my daughters, now their biological father has a wife and has had a wife for a long time.
Gotcha.
And so that's still a challenge for me, not so much because I still love him. It's not that. And this is, again, going into a chapter that I've not yet written, but the relationship with one kid over the other, because you got one child that has special needs and you're not visible. That's a problem for me. It's not that I have feelings for you anymore. I'm well beyond that. But if you treat her some kind of way, I'm going to be some kind of way towards you. It's just that simple.
Wow.
So it gets complicated when you have a blended family. And
I want to ask, first off, are there any tips or words of wisdom that you would give to those that are raising children with special needs?
Wow. It takes a lot of love, patience, and, get those resources and lean on support. And that's something that's not natural for me, actually. And maybe that's the way God is, dealing with me in some areas where I have deficiencies. I don't don't do well with asking for help. And I have a circle of people that tell me that all the time, so it must be true.
Like,
I'll stress myself to the heel before I ask somebody, hey, I'm already drowning, but hey, can you send me some help? So, be okay with asking for help and, leverage the resources that are out there, because there's a lot of resources out there for parents. If you're making a high income, for example, you can get a waiver. Understanding when you're going through different stages of this child's life, you got to get, what do you call it? Not power of attorney, but guardianship.
Got it.
Because some people don't think, well, this is my kid and they need me. Why would I need to do that? Yep.
When they become adults.
When they become adults, you have to get you got to get all of that stuff, because you're going to have to speak for them. Even though they can't speak for themselves, they're still an adult in the eyes of the law. So there's different stages you just need to be on top of. Don't let it happen to you. You make sure you're proactive about getting those resources, because if, God forbid, something happens to you, you need to make sure that you've done the legwork for that child in advance. So they have the resources, they have the waivers, they have the disability benefits coming in, because God forbid something happens to you, you leaving it for someone else to do.
Yeah.
Right. Now, that's a whole segment in and of itself.
I was gonna say that's a great point, though. We're gonna talk about that one.
I might need to stay in contact with you. I do have a child that has special needs, so I am in the process of learning and researching into all the different resources.
Yes, it can be overwhelming.
It is overwhelming, and I think sometimes with the way that they set up the paperwork, it can be massive, and it's almost like they don't want you to get the resources. You've got to
jump through hoops.
Jump through so many hoops to get the resources. But thankfully, I've had other parent supporters kind of help me along the way. But
very good.
I'm definitely learning. But those are some great tips. I had not even thought about that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
There's stages, and each stage brings about a different challenge or opportunity, I should say. And if you have a young child here in Georgia, I think it's the Katie Beckett waiver.
Yep, we have that.
The Katie Beckett waiver. Do all the things. I don't care how much it's in your bank account. And that goes back to that wealth creation too, and trying to make sure that you create something for that child, like a trust that's not, because you don't want them to show all that money, but they need it. They need it. So they need that support. So there's, and my disclaimer, I'm not a lawyer. Okay. I'm going to stay in my lane, but I do understand from an estate planning standpoint, get that will in place, get that trust in place, get the life insurance in place, make the beneficiary the trust, and spell out your wishes clearly, because you don't want to leave that for other people to figure out. And that child deserves better than that.
That's so good. So good. Before we transition into rich and wealth, I do want to ask, actually, both of you, what are some tips, words of wisdom that you would give for those that are in blended families, and from any angle, as a child, as a spouse, or someone that is, has a the father of your child or the mother of your child is in a blended family. You know what I mean? There's so many different dynamics there. So any words of wisdom that you would give, because they're so common these days. So what's the best way to have a healthy blended family? Any tips on that?
Be open to communication, and again, keep your feelings out of it. It needs to be about
Lord help me.
Yes, keep your feelings out of it. Listen, this is about the kids. Love those kids more than you hate each other. And be about the business of raising these kids.
That's good.
Even if you hate or you don't disagree, sometimes you need to take it aside. Don't spit that poison to the child. Because believe it or not, they still need that man, or they still need that woman. They need that nurturing. No one's perfect. No one has the playbook for raising a kid, and each kid is different. But respect each other. Respect each other, and sometimes you got to respectfully disagree and move on. Stop holding on to things that didn't work. Move on.
That's good. Very good.
I wish I could have said that back to me in my 20-something-year-old.
Hey, you saying it to a 20-something-year-old now. So,
baby,
hey,
move on.
Amen.
There is something else out there. This is not the be-all, end-all relationship. If it ain't working, it ain't working. If you're married, try to fix it. You got the kids involved. The kids didn't ask to be here. And believe me when I tell you this, I did try to make it work multiple times. But the great Maya Angelou said it best: when they show you who they are,
believe them.
Believe them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Believe them. Believe
And
them.
love yourself enough to move on, ladies.
Yeah.
Move
That's
on.
good.
You can do better.
That's so
for
good,
yourself,
y'all.
for your children, do better.
Wow.
And I'll say from a child's perspective, because I grew up with a stepdad, and I would say he was very intentional about treating me and my brother just like we were his own.
Yes.
There was no distinction
Amen.
that we could even clearly see. He was my stepdad since I was like 3 years old. So
wow.
He was the only one that I knew as dad or daddy. Like, I didn't even realize that he was my stepdad until I was, I guess, maybe in middle school.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It's like, we have different names. Like, I don't know why I was so slow at figuring that out, but my biological dad wasn't really being intentional with being in my life. So
I think what makes a dad is being present. I mean, just because you are the seed planter doesn't mean that you're the one that's going to blossom that child and make them grow. I think the person that's present and willing to pour into that child is the father.
Absolutely.
Yep.
It's a choice. Again, there's a choice here.
There's a choice.
A choice must be made.
That's your daddy.
Stepdad,
yeah,
you know, but that is my daddy.
I love it. I love it. All right, y'all. Well, let's move on into Rich in Wealth, y'all. This is wow. This is a good one. So you've taken us a little bit on your career journey. I mean, like literally from having to work your way through your remaining years of college and getting your degree and everything as a single mom, even. But what drew you to the field of finance? How did you end up working with money and insurance and all those great things?
Kind of funny because you're right. So 20 years of my career was in the pharmaceutical industry. I was a legal dope dealer. I love to say that. I was selling, slinging dope, and it was legal.
You were slanging.
I went from production, sales, and planning it and all of that. So it was a wonderful career. I got to see a lot, and being a W-2 employee, it was stable for us. I made a great living. But I just felt like I was not fulfilled in that career. I mean, I think I had gotten to a point where I just wasn't passionate about it anymore. Not that it wasn't a great job, because it was, but it was me, not you, right? When you break it really was you, but no, so it was just something burning inside of me that I want to do something different, but I don't know what. Funny thing is, when I was in Albany State, my first internship was with State Farm.
Wow. Okay.
And I was, early 20s, and I was in the claim division in Albany, Georgia. So I lived in Albany, Georgia for about 15 years. And, life would have it. It took me down a different path. And now full circle, random on LinkedIn, I had a State Farm recruiter reach out to me, Alicia. And she was like, I know this is kind of random, but I think you'd be a good fit for this. And you get a lot of things on LinkedIn, right? And you just kind of like fan them off. But this one caught my eye. First of all, it was familiar because I, had done it when I was a young one. And second of all, this was offering entrepreneurship. This is different. Remember, I was a W-2 employee.
Yeah.
And, you're taught to go to school. You're taught to do that route. You're going to retire from this job and you're going to be there forever and ever and ever, blah, blah, blah. And so that's what I thought, was going to happen. And then when she, brought about this idea of being a owner, this was intriguing. And I thought, well, wow, this is different.
Yeah.
So I started going down this path while I was simultaneously still in the corporate world.
Okay.
So on the side, I was like, gee,
dabbling over here a little bit.
Let me see what this is going on. She trying to holler at me over here. So let me see what's up. So, I did. And I'll be honest, I let fear put me on pause. So I had gotten so far in exploring this relationship. And it was like either do or don't. And I had gotten to the point where you're either going to do it or you're not. And so I decided, oh, wow, this is getting real. This is getting real. I don't want to put a ring on it just yet. Hold on. Hold on.
Cold feet.
Oh, I got cold feet. So I stopped, and I was getting the opportunities in my email, and I just was like, yeah. But one day, it was like almost 2 years later, something came to my email that was kind of close in proximity.
Mm-hmm.
And I talked to my husband. I was like, you know what? This has just been nagging on me. And every time I go down the interstate, I see this big State Farm building. Like it was like
just waving at you, like
just flirting at me. It was like flirting with me everywhere I went. Like, State Farm Arena, stop, stop.
I love it.
And I was like, I really, this is nagging me. I really need to see what this is.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a long talk with my husband, and I was like, I think I want to look and see. I want to revisit this. Funny thing is, when you start the process with State Farm, and you pass everything, and you get a time zero, we'll call it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And after that time zero happens, you have 2 years to do something with this opportunity, or poof, you turn into a pumpkin, right? So remember, I said it was 2 years ago almost.
Yep.
So this was September. I started to look at it again. I still needed 3 licenses to qualify.
Mm.
So I looked in the system. I had to dust off the cobweb. 2 years is coming up in November. This is September.
Mm-hmm.
And I still got 3 licenses I got to get, like 6 or 8 weeks, right?
Wow.
So I decided, you know what? If this is for me, it's for me. I'm going to gun it.
Mm-hmm.
I put a plan in place, and I was like, boom, boom, boom. I'm going to do it this way. By November the 3rd, I'm going to have my licenses. November the 9th, I'm going to turn into a pumpkin if not.
Wow.
I got all those licenses by November the 3rd.
My goodness.
So I was like, this must be meant to be.
Yeah.
He's opening all the doors up,
Wow.
allowing me to go.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay, I guess this is happening. We're going to put a ring on this thing.
There you go. Make it official.
I made it official, and here I am today.
I love it.
I'll be celebrating 5 years next year.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I love it. That's awesome. Wow.
So what specific protections would you say everyone should have? You kind of alluded to it earlier when you were talking about wills and estates and different things. What would you say you absolutely need to make sure you have in place as it relates to financial stability, and why?
Yeah, absolutely. So there are a lot of things you need to have in place. So think of it, when you think about protection, there are many tools in the toolbox, right? So I'm going to speak on what's in my lane. Okay. I'm not going to talk about the wills and the trust. We touched on that.
We did.
I don't have an authority to speak on that in detail. But what I can say from a life insurance standpoint, when you're thinking about protecting your family, you have 2 major types of life insurance. And we talked about that a little bit before the show. Some people don't realize, what type should I have, and what's out there, and can I afford it? Can I not afford it? All these different questions. So I want you guys, I'm going to simplify it as best I can.
Okay.
I want you to think about it under 2 different umbrellas. One is temporary, one is a permanent umbrella. Okay. So think of it like renting an apartment versus owning a home. And so rental properties have its purpose. So when you think about life insurance and it being rental, we're talking term insurance.
Got it.
So the word term by definition is for a defined period of time. So you can't have it forever. Thus the word term. So when you rent a policy, there's a reason why you want to rent a policy. So you're in the prime of your life. You're rearing children, you're in your childbearing years, and you're trying to raise children, or you have a husband and there's 2 people with income that you're dependent on to hold that house down. That's why you want temporary insurance. So during that period of time, I call it you're mitigating the risk of an unexpected death during the period of time that you're climbing the hill of life.
Makes sense. Okay.
And you happen to roll backwards on that hill. Roll backwards means an unexpected heart attack. He was 30 years old. Nobody saw that coming. A car accident take people out all the time.
Yeah.
It's not, it's not going to discriminate based on age. So there's so many things that can take you out the game early. So what do you have in place so think about 2 people holding that house down. If one person should fall, life insurance stands in that person's place. Because usually if one person fall and there's nothing there, the house is now lopsided.
Yeah. You
may lose that house. Right? You may have to now take on 2 or 3 jobs. Whereas before you were just taking on 1. Now you got latchkey kids because you're taking on 2 or 3 jobs. You're not home at night.
Wow.
So who's raising those kids other than, Xbox or what's it, PlayStation, whatever it is, or who's talking to your kid that you don't know you're talking to your kid, So all these things can happen. What about that college fund? Well, you can't do that now because now you're trying to keep, you're just trying to make ends meet.
Yeah.
That's term insurance.
Okay.
It's plain vanilla ice cream. You can get basic, big levels, big coverage for a small amount of money, no sprinkles. That's term.
Yep.
So under term, you have basic vanilla ice cream term.
Yes.
And then you have term on steroids.
Okay.
So what is term on steroids? That's return of premiums. Okay. So when you're talking about return of premiums, when you think about over here, when you're leasing, at the end of the lease, the odds of you getting your money back is almost nil, not enough. You ain't getting it. Okay. You just paid for risk mitigation. Peace of mind is what you paid for. But return of premiums, although it costs a little bit more than that vanilla ice cream, I'm gonna put a little sprinkles on there. Okay. So that means at the end, it might have cost you a little bit more for those sprinkles. But guess what? If you don't pass away at the end of that term, we're going to give you all your money back.
Wow.
So if you didn't die, you win the prize.
And you can do that on term insurance.
Term insurance.
Got it.
That's under that umbrella of temporary, but just a little bit better than the vanilla ice cream. Because now at the end of it, if I didn't die, I'm getting all my money back.
And that is, you said that's called premium?
Return of premium.
Return of premium.
ROP.
Wow.
All right. So all of that's temporary. So one costs a little bit more than the other. But if you're hedging your bets that God's going to keep you here a long time, but I want to make sure just in case, at the end, I get all my money. If I don't, my family gets the money.
That's good.
That big umbrella protection.
Yeah.
So now that's temporary. So let's talk about that permanent house that I talked about earlier. So the other umbrella you're renting. Now over here, we're going to buy this house. So we know houses appreciate in value, right? So they're going to go up in value. We know houses, you can get a loan against it, the equity, right? So now I want you to think about, use that same example for whole life insurance.
Okay.
So whole life insurance, think about when you outlive that term, and I pray you do. So if you outlive that term insurance over here, if you had gotten told in parallel, right? Not saying it's too late to do it later, but if you can do it, the earlier you are getting life insurance, think of it like it's on sale.
Okay.
So the sooner you get life insurance, it's going to be cheaper for you, right? You're healthy, you're young, you're low risk. You don't have all of these, things going on with you. You can get it cheaper. You can get life insurance, whole life on a child as young as 14 days old.
Oh, wow.
A lot of people don't realize that. So, for me as your risk mitigator, I want you guys to understand your options. Think of it like an insurance menu. I'm telling you what's on the menu. If you don't know what's on the menu, you don't know you're supposed to order it, or it doesn't sound like it's something that you want because you don't know about it, right?
That's true.
So if your insurance agent is not educating you on your options, you might want to come see me. Hey, just keeping it real, right? You want someone, you don't want just 1-800, hey, you got full coverage, let's go, and you don't really know what that means. And that's another topic too, and I'll get back to that. So keep it on subject. Whole life is something that your premiums will never change on you. Because over here on this rental property, every time the lease is over and they renew that lease, your lease is going up, right? Same thing with term. So if you got a term at say age 20 and it's 30-year term at age 50, well, your 50-year-old self is going to be different than that 20-year-old self. Yeah. It's going to be higher. So every time that lease expires, you have the option to renew up but for a higher price. Okay. Now go back over here. Once you lock in on that premium for whole life, that permanent policy is yours until God calls you home. That premium does not change. That premium, the only thing will change as long as you're paying your premiums as agreed. As long as you're paying your premiums as agreed, the only thing that will change is the cash value that accumulates inside that policy. Wow. Okay. By way of dividends. Now I have to put a disclaimer out here. Dividends are not guaranteed. Okay. Yeah. Anybody that tells you dividends are guaranteed, you need to run the other way. Okay. Because that's not true. You can't legally say that. Okay. But in the 100-year history of State Farm, they've never not paid out those dividends. Okay. So that should give you assurance. So when you're signing up for protection for your family, you want to know that the company that you're signing up is actually going to be available on that terrible day. For your family. So know who you're signing up for. Right. Okay. So back to the whole life. Once you lock in on those premiums, they're yours for the rest of your life. That policy belongs to you. All right. So from a State Farm standpoint, a pure whole life, and I'm gonna put pure whole life, endows at age 100. So if you make it to age 100, you win the prize. You can stop paying us.
Oh, wow.
It's your policy. Now, there are different types under this umbrella over here, right? We talked about one, which is a pure whole life. That's when they accumulate cash value throughout the life of that policy. Then you have limited pay whole lives.
Okay.
That means the house, instead of your mortgage being until you're 100, it can be 10 years. It can be 15 years, right? It can be 20 years. And at the end of whatever term you signed up for, it belongs to you forever.
Got it. Those are usually more expensive than the pure.
Yes.
Got it.
It's a little bit more expensive, but think of it this way. If you are, for example, I just had a granddaughter, right?
Congratulations.
Thank you. She just turned 1. When she was 2 months old, as a gift to my granddaughter, I gave her a 10-pay policy, limited pay, $100,000, right? So by the time she's age 10, she's got a paid up whole life for the rest of her life.
That's amazing.
But even more amazing than that, even though I'm done paying for it at age 10, it still accumulates cash value as if I'm still paying.
Y'all need to start giving them kind of gifts. I'm just saying, that's a good gift right there.
That's a gift that keeps giving.
It really is.
So if you're going to come with the diapers, come with the life policy as well.
Come on. Wow.
Because they're going to outgrow those policies.
Yeah.
I mean, those diapers, but they're not going to outgrow this. As a matter of fact, this policy is something they can actually sink their teeth into when they get to be of age. Now, she's not going to know she's a boss baby on the playground, right? She's not going to know that. But I promise you, when she's 30, she's going to come back and say, thank you.
Exactly. Thank you, Nana.
She can use those cash. Exactly. She can use those cash dividends to open her first business.
Wow.
Or she's going to buy that first home. The mortgage company is going to see that on the asset side of the balance sheet and not the liability side of the balance sheet.
That's good.
So that can be the difference of her DTI and qualifying for that house. But she got options.
That's really good. I'm just saying, like, I would have never thought to do that for a child, for a baby. That's amazing.
The little things that can change the trajectory of your wealth, your generation. It's a paradigm shift. Knowledge is power.
Yeah.
I didn't know until I became an agent. How did that happen? How did that happen? Had someone told me this the way I'm telling you this, I would have done it when they were babies. Easily.
Yeah.
Easily. Because they'll never be age 0 again. That's the cheapest you can get it at age 0. Think about that. So if you got a 4-year-old, you got a 10-year-old, it's not too late. There's never too late, right?
That's so good.
But you've skipped, let's say, for example, God forbid they get a diagnosis that's incurable at age 30 something, and you locked that in. What you've done, you froze their insurability at a tender age. No one can take that from them. I don't care what terrible diagnosis is rendered. Yeah. They got life insurance.
Wow. Okay, y'all. 2 things I want to talk about. One thing that sparked when you were talking about assets versus liabilities. I think oftentimes we aren't educated on what legitimate assets are. We buy new cars, we buy clothes, we, have the latest and greatest with this, that, and the other. All of these are depreciating.
Right.
So how do we identify assets and how do we tap into investing in them sooner rather than later?
Assets are, your house is an asset. Your house is appreciating in value. It's going to be something that you can draw from if you need to later. You can sell it and pull the money out. Yeah. That's an asset. Cars depreciate. As soon as you get off the lot, you've lost $5,000 or $10,000. But you got to have it.
Yeah.
But do you have to have a $100,000 car? I don't know. If you P. Diddy, you can. You can do that. You know what I'm saying? You can do that.
Yeah.
So I want to say, stay in your lane right there. You don't have to always look the part. You'd rather be driving that Toyota and have $20,000, in stocks and bonds that's appreciating in value over time versus something that you really afford it. Yeah. Think about the total cost of ownership when you are deciding on things. When you buy, anybody can have a luxury car. Would you agree? Anybody can get a luxury car. Yeah. But the trick to having it is can you maintain it?
That's the key.
Can you maintain
Let's just
it?
start with the gas.
Right.
Something as simple as the gas. Just don't take the regular gas.
Yes.
It don't.
Right.
or repair, oil change. That's real.
Exactly. The
Wow.
insurance.
There you go.
Yep.
There you
Don't
go.
act brand new when you call.
Yeah.
The insurance is X, Y, and Z. But
Yeah.
don't go get the Corvette. Don't
If
do
you
it.
have an electric car, don't you have to buy, or you don't have to, but don't you? Most people buy the
the charger.
Chargers.
That's an investment.
Mm-hmm.
So understand what you're signing up for and make sure you can afford it. At the end of the day, understand your cash flows in and out.
Mm-hmm.
Get you a good financial advisor.
Mm-hmm.
Understand, what do you need to invest in at this stage of your life? It just really depends on where you are in life and what you can afford. Wow. But make way for it early so you don't commit that money in areas of nonsense. Yeah. Because then once you commit to the nonsense, it's kind of hard to back out that money.
Yeah. Thank you for such a detailed and simple explanation behind the different types of insurance. I mean, we've talked about this a couple of times on our show, but honestly, I think you did such an excellent job of bringing clarity. So thank you for that. What are some other types of coverage that are essential for, I would say, young working adults, that are preparing to one day retire?
Absolutely. So so many. When you're talking about, can I start with the auto insurance?
Yes, please.
Because people here in Atlanta love their automobiles. So I'm going to talk about that briefly, and then I'm going to talk about some things that the audience may have never even heard of before that they need and don't even know they need because they never heard of it before, right? Yeah. So the auto insurance is an area I want people to understand liability. Liability takes care of the other guy. If God forbid you're the person at fault for their injuries and property damage, you care about the other guy, people. Yeah. Because when you throw out the word, I have full coverage, I got full coverage, it's such a misnomer. You're covered up to the limits on your policy. And state of Georgia says that to be legally driving these roadways, all you need is 25, 50, 25. Now, let me break that down, what that means. The first $25,000, if you hit someone, that's for one person's bodily injury. The second number, $50,000, is for multiple bodily injuries. No matter how many people are hurt on that one occurrence, that's an aggregate number. We're only going to shoot you a check for $50,000 for everybody. Wow. Right? And the last number is $25,000 for property damage. Now, let's think about an example of that. God forbid you get distracted, you're going down 75. Yeah. And you look up, the person next to you is now veering into the median because of your distraction, your error. Okay. Now this person or multiple people are hurt. Maybe they're being airlifted to Grady. God forbid. Maybe one or two don't make it. Maybe one of those people were the breadwinner of the home. Wow. And if they did make it, maybe they're in surgery now. Maybe they got multiple months of recovery ahead of them. Maybe they got lost time at work, lost wages. It's your fault. Now, do you think $25,000 is enough to make that situation right?
Absolutely not.
Not at all.
How about $50,000?
Not at all.
No, but people don't understand that because people are so full coverage. I hate it. I wish they'd scratch it. Stop it. Educate the people about what they really have. Because if you're driving around in a Mercedes or a Cadillac or Audi or what have you, these higher end cars, and you got $25,000 to protect the other guy. Let's say they have one of those type cars. And in Atlanta, we love our cars. Let's be honest.
We do.
We do.
Yes.
They love their cars. Whether they leasing them, they owning them, whatever, they got them. Okay.
They flexing, they flossing, all of that.
So however they got it. The car's still worth what it's worth. So if you hit a Cadillac, for example, in your $25,000 of property damage you got, do you think they can come after you for the balance?
My Lord.
We're going to cut you a check. We're going to cut the other people a check for $25,000 because that's what you got.
My Lord. So
if the Cadillac's worth $100,000, you got 25. Who's going to eat this other 75? Y'all are. So you need to understand auto insurance as a baseline. Got it. Understand what you have, what you're working with, and how much risk you want to take on, because then you're self-insuring anything after that $25,000. Okay. Okay. All right. So understand that. So lawyers can get very vicious. This is a very litigious state. And if that situation I just described really happens and it's your fault, well, you just changed that person's whole life. Yeah. So let me ask you, do you think they can sue you for, lost wages? Can they put a lien on your house? Can they garnish?
I know. I'm like, I need to go check my policy right now, Lord Jesus.
Can they garnish your wages?
Ooh,
you got a
Lord.
job. Did you get income tax checks? You know, are you expecting a big refund?
Yeah.
But you just did this damage over here.
Wow.
Yes, they can come for you. So be careful when you're out here flexing. Make sure you got the right amount of coverage, people.
That's good.
So that's auto insurance. Okay. I wanted to really spend a minute on that.
Like, let me exhale. That was a lot. I'm like,
y'all weren't ready for this.
Make sure I'm looking both ways on the way home, Lord Jesus. We're not trying to buy no Audis or Cadillacs. Okay. All right, go ahead. Carry on. Next thing.
So in Atlanta, I wish it were a law actually for everybody to have a PLUP.
A PLUP.
A PLUP. Anybody heard of a PLUP?
I've never heard of that. What is that?
Personal liability umbrella protection policy.
Oh.
Covers the cars as well as the house. Now, the underlying limits you must have on all the cars in the household is $250, $500, $100. It doesn't cost as much as you guys think. Okay. We kind of reward you for being safer.
Wow.
If you got those type of limits. If you have a home in that, but anyway, that's another topic.
Gotcha.
PLUP, if God forbid, playing on the last example, if God forbid something like that were to happen and they come after you, this umbrella opens up. Once you run out of limits on the car, and given that type of situation, you will. Yeah. Once you run out of that $250, $500, now this PLUP opens up at no less than $1 million. Okay. Doesn't cost that much either. Depends on your situation, of course. If you got young drivers in the household, if you got tickets, you can't even probably get it. I think you got to wait some time. But either way, it gives you that much more layer of protection between everything you worked hard for in life.
Wow.
I have $2 million. So I tell people all the time, you got to eat through $2 million before you hit my home, before you hit or garnish my wages. Yeah. So it's risk mitigation for me. It's peace of mind for me, knowing that if God forbid that happens, you know, you got State Farm lawyers in the courtroom. I'm not having to crack open my 401k for that situation. I'm not having to go get a home equity loan to fight that fight. You know what I mean? So, you know, understand what you have available. The triangle of protection. You know, protect your family, life insurance, health insurance. You know, protect that home where the people, you know, you worked hard for this house, by the way. That's probably the most expensive thing that you put in place. Make sure you have that term life insurance just in case you pass away to make sure your family can pay that off. Okay. Get you some disability insurance because a lot of people, believe it or not, lose their home because they're disabled suddenly. Wow. Now they're only getting 60% of their wages where they were getting 100%. And hey, I don't know about y'all. I need 150% of my wages if I can get it. So if we go down to 60%, there's a problem. Houston, there's a problem. So think about all the things that you can put in place, budget accordingly. You know, think about how you're spending money and find the money to make sure that your family's going to be good if something, God forbid, happens in that way.
So the triangle is life insurance or health insurance, and then auto, home. Am I set? Are those the three?
Sounds like it. Yep.
Okay, that's what I was like.
So think of it this way: the pillar, you got to close all the ends, right? Okay. And your family's in the middle. So if you got, you know, a hole open here, life insurance, you have an unexpected death, you might lose that house. Got it. You have an unexpected disability, you might lose that house because now their income just went down drastically, unexpected. Nobody's expecting to be disabled. Come on. Yeah. Nobody. That's why it's, you know, an accident. And then over here, you got your auto and your home insurance. God forbid the house burns up, you know, God forbid a tree falls on the house, or God forbid you have that accident I talked about earlier. Yeah. There's that plug. You know, you want to make sure that you close all those gaps again to protect your family and everything you worked hard for. Because you could say, you know, I'm good. I got 10,000. I got 6 months of income. And you can drain that out quickly on a disability. Absolutely. You can drain that out quickly on lawyers. They won't even talk to you now, I think, without a retainer fee of $5,000. So do you want that to be upon you and coming upon you to have to do that? Or do you want to make sure that I put, you know, this money in this risk mitigating bucket? I put a little bit in with the hopes of never having to pull out. But if I have to, I know I can pull a lot out because that's what you call insurance. Wow. It's risk mitigation. Y'all. This is, I don't know about you, my head is like, it's about to start smoking it a little bit. But this is great information. It's essential information that I think oftentimes we try to not even try to, but we just gloss over it because we don't want to think about,
bad things happening. We want to think about good things happening. But like you were saying, it's protecting what you've worked for. So as you can see, we could clearly go on for this
All
for
day.
hours.
All day.
But I do want to ask just 3 things that you would recommend for someone that literally they're listening and their head's about to explode and they're like, I don't know where to begin. What are the 3 things that they should start with as far as focusing for protecting what they've worked for, whether they're single or married, but like what are some things, 3 steps that they can take to just start on this journey of preparing and protecting themselves financially?
Well, that's really good, actually. And I can answer that probably 100 different ways, honestly. In my office, I have something that I call insurance wellness reviews.
Okay.
And there is no cookie cutter answer for that, honestly, because someone can walk in that's in their 60s. It's going to be a quite different conversation than someone in their 20s. But you ask for somebody young, I would say, make sure you're spending according to your means. Prioritize life insurance, understanding that the general public is not responsible for your life. So that's where you see the GoFundMes and you see, people asking for you to donate for something that they didn't expect to happen. Well, we all know that we're going to be called home one day. That's not a party that everybody's got to RSVP to that party, right? You just don't know what time your party's going to start.
Yeah.
So you have to plan as if that party can start tomorrow, whether that child is 0 or 18.
Wow.
So on the term, you can at least, let's say I can't afford it, I got all these other things going on, start with term. Basic vanilla ice cream. Somebody in their 20s can get a term for I've seen $18.
Wow.
Pay for it for your kid, pay for it. Or put them on a rider, because you can hold them on that rider until they're of age if they're young. $4. I think $4 or $5 for a rider, a child rider that you can put on your term policy. So if you can afford the term for you and hubby, right? Maybe it costing you $30, $40. Add the children on there as well, because we don't ever want to think about a child leaving before.
Yeah.
No one wants to ever imagine it. It happens all the time. It happens all the time.
Yeah.
Look at the news. Read the news. Car accidents happen.
Yeah.
Stray bullet here. Kid was walking home and the neighbor shot him because he went to the wrong door.
Yeah.
That's where we living. That's where we at. So you pray, cover your child in the blood of Jesus, protect them with life insurance. Put it in place. It's one of those things that you hope you never need, but if you need it, you have it. And it doesn't cost that much.
That's good.
Prioritize that insurance over those Jordans. So if it means you got to go down to some Pumas, you got to go down to Pumas.
Don't hate on them Pumas, y'all. Them Pumas cute too, okay?
Cute. I got to pay them. I love my Pumas. But look at how you're spending and prioritize the money accordingly based on what you're saying is important. If I ask anybody, what's the most important thing to you, they're going to say their family. But you just gave me $200 for auto insurance and we're nickel and dime in the life insurance. So, where your treasure is, so shall your heart be. Wow. So understanding, realizing that, because I'm not saying that to shade anybody, by the way. What I'm saying is a lot of times we don't understand, or we're oblivious to our priorities. We're saying one thing, but our actions are speaking something different.
Yeah.
So do it up front. It's almost like putting money away in your 401k that you don't even see. Put it on auto pay, put it in place, forget about it.
That's good. Very good. Whew. You have anything else before we close out? I tell you.
That was just awesome.
Amazing.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing
yes.
your wisdom.
Yes.
This is truly going to educate our listeners.
Absolutely.
So. I'm going to definitely, my husband, he edits the podcast, so I'm going to tell him, make sure you really listen to it while you're editing it. But this was amazing.
Amazing. And I know you're only 5 years into having your own business, but what do you feel is next for you in this season?
Actually, I joined the Rich Girls HQ. I really thought it was so dynamic. And I love how they're leading and they're championing each other. And everybody's winning.
Yes.
And let me tell you something. If your circle is doing the same thing as you need to change your circle. You need people in your circle that's doing exceptionally much better than And I also have such an organization like the Southern Crescent Women in Business as well. I got to give a shout out to my girl,
all right,
Shaw, because she has been a trailblazer in the South in bringing women together and just really trying to, make them see the value of networking and doing your business plan and really just leveling up on scaling your business. And so I'm always looking for ways, in like-minded people to challenge me. And so for that reason, the Rich Girls HQ, I joined shortly after.
Very good.
What's next for Sherry? One of the first things they asked me to do was write down 20 wild prayers.
Oh, amen.
I did.
Amen.
I did. And, one of those things, and, strengthen that relationship with God, have more quiet time meditation there. But, to enlarge my territory such that I can be more philanthropic, so that I can expand upon, that reach, influence people in a way that can be life-changing, be that example and be more transparent about my journey so others can see the blueprint, so they don't have to, repeat some of those same things that I had to, to endure. So there's a lot on mine.
Yeah.
But those are some of the top things.
I love it. Good stuff. Good stuff. Whew. Well, we could jump on. I was going to say, you want to go to Noble Character?
Yes.
There's more.
I know.
So a Noble Character is a segment where we like to give an opportunity to recognize a woman or women in the community that's inspiring you or inspiring others, just really being a role model in your life or other people's lives. So we want to give you the opportunity to recognize a woman of noble character.
Wow, the list is long, folks. I mean, it's like a scroll
Yay,
at this point.
That's great.
I really feel like I've been blessed. God has really put me in circles and, people of influence. And I don't think there's a mistake. And I got to start. Well, I'm going to start with my mother. My mother, stoic, strong. I mean, she's had her challenges, but I got to say, she fought for me. And I didn't realize that as a child.
Yeah.
But now thinking back, I would not be here had it not been for her fight. And so for that, I will forever be grateful. I owe her my life. Just in the community, where do I start? My fellow State Farm agents.
Wow.
Those women are incredible. I have a State Farm twin, Kim Mays. Shout out to Kim Mays. She's amazing. I call her my baby sister, but she helps me stay on my P's and Q's. My sales leader that hired me, Princess Brown, is amazing. Oh my gosh, it's God-fearing women that, lead with the word. And I got to give another shout out to Ariel Shaw. She has been inspiring the Southern Crescent Women in Business. No one's perfect, but man, let me tell you, she has opened doors and crashed down walls.
I love it.
So I got to give a shout out to her. Chairwoman Carlotta Harrell Harris in Henry County. The mayor of McDonough, the first Black mayor of McDonough, Mayor Sandra Vincent. There's just so many judges. Oh my God, Andrea Boyd, Chandra Lewis, Holly Veal. I mean, there's so many. The list. I told you I can go.
I was gonna say you gotta scroll for real.
I don't have one.
No, this is amazing. You gotta scroll. So first of all, share your mother's full name.
Sarah Ann DeVos.
Sarah Ann DeVos. You are a woman of noble character. I know you mentioned. I was trying to catch a couple of them. Kim Mays.
Oh yeah.
Woman of noble character.
Yeah.
Princess Brown. Woman of noble character. And then you got a commissioner and a mayor in there. I think I missed some of them, but just share their names so we can officially name them as women of noble character.
Ariel Shaw.
Yes, Ariel Shaw, you are a woman of noble character.
Listen, I got a bling crew. I got to shout out my bling girls, paparazzi. I tell you, they're doing it on, if there's a 10, they're doing it on 100.
Hey, okay, bling girls.
I got to give my bling girls a shout out. And so that's Tyronica Carter,
yes,
Alicia Bowman, DeBrasia Hall. I can't forget Alicia Williams.
Yes,
these women are incredible.
You have an incredible tribe. That's awesome.
They're incredible. Again, I got a whole scroll of women. I can keep going on and on and on. I feel like I'm missing someone that I need to say. I'll come back.
That's okay. Yeah, I was gonna say if you think of them,
lot.
you can put them in the chat. But then I also too want to make sure that you share your social media handles. Some are looking for an insurance agent or need to switch insurance agents because she just dropped some gems and educated us in ways that I haven't really experienced. So how can people reach you or contact you if they want to learn more or retain you as an agent?
Absolutely. I'm not mad at that if you want to do that for sure. Obviously we are insuring the entire state of Georgia. So although my office is in McDonough, the industrious McDonough, Georgia, you can call me anywhere in Georgia. So Alabama and South Carolina as well. You can find me. You can go to my website directly at www.sdd, and that's David, insurance.com. You can also find me on Instagram at your_agent_Sherry. You can also find me on Facebook, and that's Sherry DeVos Dennard State Farm. And I'm also on Twitter. I'm not a big tweet person. I think they even named it X.
I know it's X now. It's all Elon got X all over the place. It's all good. It's all good. Wow, I love it. Good stuff. Whew. All right. Well, y'all, we're wrapping it up. If you have not already gotten your merch, get your merch. We got mugs. It's getting a little chilly where we are. So if you want to get your hot cocoa, or your green tea, get your green tea, or if you're working out in these streets and you're trying to, keep hydrated, you can get your water bottles for Becoming Eva. We've got merch as well. Bags. Yes. Get your slides. They're comfortable too, y'all. I'm not gonna lie, they're comfortable. So get your slides and reps. So yes.
So next time, join us next time, where we're going to have a special guest. Her name is Taquanda Miles.
Yes.
She was a recipient of Rich in Spirit. So join us next time. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Becoming Eva Today. And we'll see you guys next time.
Y'all. See you soon.
I had some shout outs.
That's how I know.